Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm a clinical social worker. Today, I wanted to talk about a topic um, that has to do with dealing with and healing the mother wound, and also exploring how it affects our relationships and how to release that wound. So, today, we're going to dive into it. And if you've ever found yourself repeating unhealthy patterns in relationships, especially or specifically as hetero women with hetero men, or if you struggle with issues like your self worth, emotional regulation, or boundaries, the mother wound might be at the heart of it. We're also going to talk about how you can heal that wound and release the past, and I'll share some somatic tools that can help you move through the process step by step. So, first things first, what exactly is the mother wound? The mother wound is an emotional, psychological, or physical pain that we carry from our early relationship with our mother, or maternal figures, or maternal caregivers, and how those early interactions shape the way we view ourselves and the way that we view others, and also what type of people we are drawn to as adults. A mother wound can look different for everyone, but it typically stems from experiences of neglect, abandonment, criticism, overprotection, or emotional unavailability. These wounds are often passed down generationally, so they can deeply influence how we see love, intimacy, and even our worthiness as individuals and as part of groups, partnerships, or communities. When we don't receive the nurturing emotional support or validation we need from our mothers or our mother figure caregivers during childhood, we carry these unmet needs into our adulthood, which can deeply affect how we approach relationships, especially with men. So let's talk about how the mother wound shows up in our relationships with men. Often, if we haven't healed this wound, we unconsciously gravitate towards men who replicate the patterns that we have experienced with our mothers or with our caregivers. So you might be thinking in your head right now specific scenarios that you had with your mother or caregivers that have been mimicked with your relationships with men. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it shows up. So, attracting unavailable or emotionally distant partners. You might find yourself attracted to men who are emotionally distant, dismissive, or avoidant because at some level, this is what you've been conditioned to accept and be okay with. Chronic people pleasing. If your mother was overly critical or dismissive, you might find yourself seeking validation from men in unhealthy ways, doing things to please them even at the expense of your own needs, financially, physically, emotionally, you name it. Low self worth or self sabotage. If your mother didn't provide emotional support or validation, you might struggle with self worth and feeling unworthy of love, leading you to either settling for partners who don't treat you well or pushing away potential partners who could actually be good for you. And finally, codependency. Sometimes the mother wound causes people to fall into codependent relationships, where one person becomes overly dependent on the other for emotional support or validation, often at the cost of their own needs. Now, the mother wound isn't just limited to relationships with men. It can also impact other areas of your life with other people. So let's discuss those. Self esteem and self worth. If you were never taught to value yourself or or your emotions were invalidated, you might struggle with low self esteem or feel like you're never good enough. Fear of failure or perfectionism. This is a huge one that I see as a therapist. If your mother was critical or expected perfection from you, you might have an intense fear of failure or an overwhelming need to be perfect in everything you do, whether it's perfect or successful. Difficulty setting boundaries. The inability to assert your needs or set boundaries is often linked to the mother wound, as it can make you feel like your feelings aren't valid or that you're unworthy of being heard. And overfunctioning and burnout. This is also a big one that I see as a therapist. You might find yourself always trying to do more, whether it's for your family, your partner, or your work. This is often a result of trying to prove your worth, especially if you didn't receive the validation in childhood. Okay, so let's talk about how to heal this wound. Healing the mother wound takes time, but there are steps you can take that will help you reconnect with yourself and break free from these painful patterns. Now, this isn't something that can completely go away, but this is something that you can learn to manage and overcome. So first, I want to remind you, healing is a process, and it's okay to take your time. You're not broken. You might find it, or you might be carrying emotional baggage that needs to be unpacked and maybe can be left, right? Here are some ways to release the mother wound and move forward in healthier relationships. First thing, and the most important thing, is to acknowledge that you have a wound. You already started to explore how your childhood experiences have shaped your present life. And acknowledging that pain and how it shows up in your relationships is a powerful first step to healing. And here are the second things, somatic practices for releasing the wounds. Our bodies store emotional trauma, and the mother wound is often held in the heart, the chest, and the hips. Engaging in somatic exercises can help you release that stored energy. So we can think of different poses and movements and breath work when it comes to somatic practices that help manage the mother wound. So heart opening poses, practices like yoga or simply sitting in a meditative position with your palms open can help release stuck energy. Try practicing deep breathing while imagining a warm light opening up the chest area and releasing old emotional energy. Heart opening poses are very therapeutic if you allow yourself to melt into the pose. Really, with any poses or any movements, any stretches, what it really comes down to is allowing yourself the opportunity to melt into that position. And so your mind and your body become one, right? Are mutually aware of what is going on with your body, and your body is aware of what is going on with your mind, right? It's kind of they're working together to release the stored energy. Hip opening movements. Since the hips are a major area where emotional tension can be stored, try movements like hip circles or a gentle forward fold in yoga to release any tension or stuck emotions. And in a lot of my videos on my Instagram and on YouTube that I'll be uploading, I show how to do these simple movements and stretches and yoga poses. And body scan meditation, this is a big one. Regular body scans help you check in where you're holding tension and allow you to consciously relax areas of tightness, including the hips and the chest. So when you really give yourself the opportunity or the moment or the compassion to check in with your body and actually check in to see what areas of your body are tense, whether it's, your shoulders, your neck, your stomach, your hands, things like that. A body scan meditation can help you release those areas of tightness. And finally, breath work. Deep breathing exercises like diaphragmatic breathing or box breathing can help release emotional tension and restore balance to your nervous system. And number 3, healing the mother wound often requires reconnecting with your inner child. This is what we talk about when we mention inner child work. One way to do this is through journaling or guided meditation to communicate with the younger version of yourself. Ask them what they needed back then and how you can provide that love and support to them now as an adult. Think of it as you as an adult parenting your inner child. How would you have liked and how should you have been parented by your caregivers, right? Or by your mother, or mother figures, right? That you weren't parented in that way, but how would you do that now? And then proceeding to actually do that. Setting healthy boundaries. So breaking free from toxic relationship patterns is really difficult. But working on setting healthy boundaries is a big tool to use. When you set boundaries, you teach yourself that your needs matter, and it's a reminder that you are worthy of love and respect. Practicing saying no when needed and giving yourself permission to prioritize yourself is key. And therapy and support. So if possible, work with a therapist who specializes in trauma or the mother wound. It can be incredibly helpful to have support while you work through the deeper layers of this healing. And remember, healing the mother wound is a journey, and every step you take towards understanding and releasing this pain is a step towards healthier relationships with yourself and others. By acknowledging the past, honoring your emotions, and using tools like somatic practices and boundaries, you are creating a healthier space and a more nurturing opportunity to create nurturing relationships in your future. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe and share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Remember that healing is a process that we all go through, or at least we should all think about going through. And you're not alone. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.